If you're writing a screenplay but you're new to Final Draft 13, here's a secret. You don't need to know about 90% of the things that they include in that software. Now, I'm not saying all of those bells and whistles aren't useful, I'm just saying they're not necessary. So if you stay with me for about 10 minutes, I'll show you the essentials of Final Draft 13 so that you can start writing your screenplay immediately. If you want to stick around after that, I'll show you a couple useful things like the Navigator, how to customize your ribbon to make it actually useful, and a couple formatting tweaks that I like to use to make my screenplays more readable. All right, let's get right into it. And we're going to open up Final Draft and open a new file. You don't have to worry about any templates in Final Draft 13 because if you're writing a feature or a spec, it's all Courier New, it's all 12-point font, and all of the spacing is the same. So let's just start writing a screenplay and don't worry about anything up here. I have my keyboard here so you can see me hitting return or tab when I need to. But we're just going to start writing. And the biggest thing that Final Draft does for you is it anticipates what your next move is. It anticipates what you're writing to try to create an intuitive workflow. And to their credit, the workflow is very smooth once you get used to Final Draft. So every screenplay usually starts with fade in. If you type fade in and then put a semicolon or a colon, it will automatically take you to your first slug line. And it'll give you interior, exterior, or interior/exterior. So you can choose it by going up and down, or you can just type it in, and it will know what you're talking about. So then you hit space, we'll just do a house, and then when you hit dash, it knows the next thing that comes after it is the time of day. So if you start typing something in like D, it'll give you anything that starts with a D, the smart type. If you do E, it'll give you evening. If you give M, it'll give you morning. Moments later, it gives you everything you want. We'll stick with day. But instead of typing it this time, I'm just going to hit return. It's going to say it's day. And now it's recorded into Final Draft. And it takes you to your next most likely element, which is an action block. And you can see up at the top here what the element is. Matt, 40s, awesome, does a Final Draft tutorial for YouTube. Exclamation point. I'm going to hit return, and it's going to keep me in action block format, but it's going to skip a space because it's an action block. That's the point of it. And the software knows that you're probably not done writing your action. You're just breaking up your action. So now I'll do a couple extra lines of action to show you what it looks like when you have multiple lines of action. I'm going to hit return. I'm still in action. But if I hit tab, Final Draft knows the most likely thing I'm going to do next is make a character speak. So by hitting tab, it goes to the character element. And Matt is the only person in the scene right now, so that's the only person who's going to talk. When I hit return, it's going to take me to dialogue. And I'm going to type in my dialogue. Here is my dialogue. I'm going to show you something cool about Final Draft now because it's smart and it anticipates what you're going to do. I'm going to hit return. Takes me back to action because it knows that's the most likely next thing that's going to happen. Brad enters. I hit return again. It still thinks I'm in action. If I hit tab, I only have one character in my screenplay so far who has spoken. And Final Draft has kept that in its memory. So when I hit M, it's going to take me to Matt because it's already recorded. Once I hit return, it's going to take me to dialogue. Hey, Brad. Exclamation point. I'm going to use exclamation points for everything. I'm going to hit return. Takes me to action. I'm going to hit tab again. Now it's going to take me back to character. Brad has not been entered as a character, so he doesn't exist in Final Draft's memory. Once I add him in, however, hey, Matt. Now he's there. So if I go to the next line here and I hit tab, it's going to take me to Matt because that's the other person in the conversation. What's up? If I hit return and tab over, guess what it does? It anticipates Brad because he's the other person in the conversation. This is what makes the writing intuitive and smooth when you use Final Draft because you're just writing almost stream of conscious, but you're letting the program do the heavy lifting of anticipating what element you need to be in and where. So Brad, nothing. I'm gonna change scenes now. I'm gonna go outside. So I've hit return and we're back in action. a shortcut for Final Draft. If you hit return a second time, it's going to bring up your element list. I've got to move this up further. These are all your different elements. And so I'm just going to go up one. And now I'm in scene heading, so I can do exterior house. House has been put into Final Draft's memory because we typed it in already. We're still going to say day. But I could say, let's say, moments later. And again, it smart typed it and I press return. Now I'm in the action. You can see by the action block here. Matt and Brad leave the house. But there's another way to also shortcut your way into a new scene. You don't just have to hit return twice. So if I go to the next line, you see I'm still in action, but it's a smart program. So I'm just going to write INT period. Watch what happens. Boop. It turns it into a slug line. And now I could say, same thing, continuous, Matt comes back in because he forgot his keys. And it automatically does it all for you. So if I hit return again, still thinks I'm in action, but if I do EXT period, it automatically takes me back to the scene heading. That's pretty cool. The other thing that you can do here is I'll go back up here, get rid of all this, and then I'm going to do a transition. So I'm going to do return twice, and there's transition right there. You can also just shortcut with the letter T, boop, and I'm in transition. If you didn't want to do it that way, and you're over here at action, you could just come up here to the elements and you can go to transition. And here you can put in your transition and it's all pre-programmed. I could do fade out, fade in, fade to black. I could do cut to, dissolve, any of that stuff. So here's all of the most common smart type transitions. I'm gonna do dissolve too. And then when I hit return, it knows that I got to change into a new scene, so it goes straight to scene heading. EXT, house is in the memory of the program, and I'm going to do day. Out to the car they go. Let's talk about parentheticals. I'll get rid of all this actually and do that. I'm going to make Matt talk. Tab over, that takes you to character, or you could do return, and you can do down to character, or you could do return and hit C for character, or you could hit return and you could just go up here and select character. Billion ways to skin a cat, right? Anyway, here we are with Matt talking. If you hit tab right now, takes you to all of your parentheticals that are most common and stored in Final Draft 13. The cool thing is, so I'll do voiceover, I'll just do that. I'm talking to myself. But what if he was on the phone? So let's do this. Matt is on the phone. The way that I like to do phones, when I'm writing a script, I'll do a parenthetical. So I'll do tab for parenthetical, but I can write in my own parenthetical, phone, and close parentheses. Now when I hit return, guess what? It's locked into the memory. Hey, Brad. Remember, Brad is already in the memory, even though I deleted him. He's still a character in the memory. So when I hit B, there's Brad. If I hit tab, look what's at the bottom here now, phone. So I can select it, or I can hit P and it's automatically going to go to phone. And then I hit return and there we go. Hey, Matt. So now you can do that for anything you want and it'll stay in the memory. There's another type of parenthetical that we can also talk about here. So let's go back here. We'll keep Matt on the phone. I'm going to hit return. So now I'm in dialogue, but I'm going to hit tab one more time. When I hit tab, I am now in a parenthetical and it's an open and close. I'm typing within it. So I will whisper. Hey, Brad. No exclamation point if you're whispering. That's how you do a parenthetical. Or you could do it, Brad, phone. You can go up here to parenthetical. Or two returns, shortcut P. Or two returns and just go up with your arrow to parenthetical. Yells. Hey, Matt! Why are you whispering? That's pretty much everything that you need to know in order to write your screenplay. Just as a review. Interior, slug line, day. Action block. Character. off camera, tab over, parenthetical, dialogue, action, transition, new slug line, time of day. So now that you know how to write a screenplay, let me show you a few things that are actually helpful in Final Draft 13. The first is the Navigator. I'm going to open this up and move this over here. There's a lot of stuff you could do with the Navigator. When I'm going through my script, if I want to go to a certain scene, the only information that I really need is the page number and the slug line, where we're at in the script, and then I know exactly where I need to go. But you could put anything you want in these columns, and you can rearrange these columns just by clicking and dragging until you like the way that it looks. That's really helpful for when you're going through your script. What I would recommend is hitting this little pin button up here. That way it's not a floating window and the script can't go on top of it. If you don't have that clicked, then it goes right on top of it and you're constantly going back and forth. So you can pin that in right there. The other thing that's really good is that you got this title page over here. So you just click on it, it opens up a whole new window, and here's where you write all your stuff. So here on the title page, one of the things that you can do with Final Draft 13 is you can have like an I kind of situation before your script goes forward so that it doesn't count as the pages in your actual script. You can do that by doing insert page break, and you'll see now you have a little I, but it's really kind of it doesn't work so great because you have to start typing up here at the top of the page. If you hit return, it's going to take you to the next page. You don't want to do that. But if you turn off page break, now you go back up to the front and you can just hit return until you get to that second page. And now you're on little I, but you're not going down to the third to another new page every time you hit return. Why do you want to do that? Well, what if you want to put a quote in here? Like, this is a quote. Return, and then I'm going to space over Matt. Now you've got a quote in there, or what if you want to add an image in here, something like that? Then you can do it without having it go to the next IV, anything like that every time you hit return. So that's a glitch in Final Draft, but it's still cool that you can have multiple pages on your title page. So close title page out. The next thing I think that's useful to know is how to modify your user interface. This ribbon up here. You don't need to put your feedback. You don't need Navigator's good that you could turn on and off like that. I like having that. I don't care about my writing stats. Beatboard, I'll go into in a different video. I think this is useful. It's not necessary, but I like having it. The views, you can change your view. You're never going to need to look at anything in normal view, speed view. You don't need the typewriter view. I don't understand the point of having index cards like this when you have a beat board available as well. So I don't use any of this scene view. You can, if you have this scene view, here's what it looks like. And you can rearrange things like by dragging and clicking over like that. But I've never actually used this in practice. The only thing I ever use is page view, or I'll do a beat board at some point. Split, I don't understand splitting. I work on one document. I don't need my splits here. I don't need them unsplit the panels. Collaboration, I don't work with other writers, so I don't need collaboration. This is an online thing, I guess. I've never tried it out, so I don't know if it's glitchy or how good it is. I've never used it. So what do you do to get stuff on here that you actually need? All you do is you right click and you say customize toolbar. Now you can put anything you want on there. Here, let me close out this Navigator so you can see better. Everything's floating around like on an iPhone if you were to delete something. And you can just drag and drop the things that you want in there to be in there, or drag them out of there. I don't want collaboration. I'll keep the beat board. I don't care about my writing stats. Show and hide. I'll take out the feedback. What do I think is important to have in here? Obviously, the elements are important to have in here. You don't need save. You hit Control S. You don't need print. You don't need copy or paste or anything like that. You don't know undo or redo. You know how to do all that with keyboard shortcuts. I want an insert image in there. I like that. I like having my alignment on here if I'm going to change my alignment. I like having my styles on here. Toggle case is important in case you want to capitalize things. If you do a lot of dual dialogue, you could put it on there. Point is, you could put anything you want on there. Revision mode, if you do revisions, that's something important that you would want on there. And if you want to be able to go between your revisions, you do that. You can put whatever you want on here, and it'll give you this little carrots on the side because there's more stuff on here than there is space. I don't use emojis, but maybe you do. You put emojis up there. And then when you're done, everything is up there for you, and the stuff that doesn't fit is off to the sides. I'm going to put my elements back in the middle here. What I just did was I drag and dropped the original default, see the default toolbar back up there to reset everything. And then later on, I'll modify it the way that I want. But I'll leave it like that for now. Final thing I'll show you is how I like my formatting. So I'm just going to put in a couple placeholders here. Stuff, stuff, stuff. More stuff, more stuff, more stuff. Notice the double spacing. There's double spacing between each scene. That's standard default formatting. But I don't like the way that looks in a screenplay because it's wasting white space. And if you have a 120-page script and you're trying to get that down to 118, if you get rid of all of these extra spaces, you might actually be able to save a page or two over the course of an entire script. So how do you do that? You go to Format, which I know you can't see because it's cut off by the screen capture, but in Format Elements, here is everything you need to change the look of your script or any of your elements. It's also where you can apply a template. I don't mess with any of these templates because there's really no need to. You can do everything you want regardless of the medium. If you're TV or film, you could do it all through just standard default Final Draft. You don't have to put a new screenplay template in depending on what you're writing. You also don't need to have these to create your beat boards for you. If you're going to do a beat board, just do it yourself. So cancel on all of that. But what you can do, and what I do, is you click on what you want to change. For scene heading, what I like is I want to change the space before from 2 to 1. And I want to make it bold and underline. When I hit OK, watch what happens. Look at that. Now my slug lines are bold and underlined, and I got rid of that extra line. That's going to save me space throughout my screenplay. And it also helps distinguish visually my slug lines from everything else in the screenplay. That's just my personal preference, but that's how you would do it for any element that you wanted to change. And you can change the font, you can change the alignment, you can change whatever you want. I don't know why you would, but maybe you have a reason for it. And if you have a special type of formatting, you can create a special type of formatting, name it whatever you want, and you can access it through here, or you can access it double return, and there it is. Your special one's all the way at the bottom. So whatever it is that you're formatting, it would work by doing it that way. The only other thing that I think is really useful in Final Draft is the beat board. But I'm not going to go into the beat board here because that's better for another video. And this is something that you could do on paper, on a dry erase board, on a bulletin board. You don't need to use Final Draft for it, but it's nice that they have the ability to do it within the program. You can bring things in to your script by having it show up in the outline bar. You can also have structure lines, which I don't use any of this stuff. Maybe it's because I'm old school and I write it all down on paper first. But if I have a beat board, I think that's great to keep me on track. But I don't need to stick it on here to know what pages I need to hit if I'm at my inciting incident or I'm at my Act 1 turn. But some people like that. And it's all in here. And you can look up how to do all this type of stuff or watch my video later on when it comes out on the beat board. So that's all you need to know for getting started on Final Draft 13 if you want to write a screenplay. And if you like this kind of content, subscribe and come back for more. Until next time, I'm Matt Weiner, and this is Fade In, a channel dedicated to the art of screenwriting.